Just in time for Earth Day, the spotlight lands on climate change at USC. See how leaders are working to advance creative solutions for a green planet.
A popular vape company is facing backlash after allegations of marketing to minors. Find out what's being done to keep social media more kid-friendly.
And as final season quickly approaches, new study spots are reopening on campus. Check out the guidelines for reservations. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
It really marks an emphasis on the intersection of both climate justice, racial equity, and inclusion, which is at the center of the work that we're embarking upon within university relations. And so I thought it was really great to have the opportunity to speak with one of our council members and some other leaders about their perspectives on how those things work together and how we can impact climate change in a more positive way.
The USC Wrigley Institute for Environmental Studies, the USC Dornsife Center for Political Future, and Grow at Annenberg launched a series of conversations this week on climate change. Good evening, I'm Lauren Hebroni reporting from Miami, Florida.
And I'm Kucera reporting from Los Angeles. The event kicked off today with panelists talking about how climate change affects at-risk communities.
Communities of color that during the periods of urban renewal in this nation, freeways were planned across neighborhoods at points of the least resistance. So those who had the least political power, the least ability to object, the least ability to seek recourse, those were the neighborhoods where freeways were planned. Those were the neighborhoods where power plants and environmental toxic uses were planned.
A time lapse shows how Earth's climate has changed dramatically in the last 40 years. The video highlights melting ice caps, receding glaciers, urban growth, and wildfires' impact on agriculture. In honor of Earth Day, USC is hosting conversations about climate change with local leaders.
And I think one of the main ideas of climate justice is intergenerational equity. So part of the discussion is about how present generations need to ensure that we deal with climate change so that there's justice for future generations, but also for past generations.
There are so many different ways that various communities and populations are disproportionately impacted by the whole climate change continuum. The very same communities and populations that tend to be most impacted are the communities that contribute the least in terms of greenhouse gas emissions that drive climate change.
A series of conversations centered on climate change will be streamed on Facebook and Zoom this week. Business Roundtable will take place tomorrow at noon. Words That Work, Red States and Climate Change is at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and Leaders and Legislators Roundtable will happen at noon on Friday.
The U.S. and China have agreed to address the issue of climate change together, despite their differences on other issues. I'm Kimia Rahbar reporting from Los Angeles. The two world superpowers will prioritize developing long-term strategies on carbon neutrality, helping transition to cleaner energy in developing countries, and increasing the use of renewable energy. Two climate experts emphasize the important relationship between the two countries.
As you know, getting different nations to work together can often be challenging. So that's called the free rider problem. Each country hopes that every other country will take care of the issue. And to overcome the free rider issue, something that's talked about at USC School of International Relations is the importance of getting nations to work together.
The human population of planets and how we live today is at stake. And so if they work together, it is saying to the world, we may disagree on many things. We may be competing in terms of technology and advantages and who's first and who's second and so forth. But we have to agree we share the problem of climate change.
President Biden plans to hold a virtual climate summit in hopes of inspiring other world leaders to embrace a green economy.
In Minneapolis, both the prosecution and the defense delivered closing arguments today in the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin.
Throughout the course of this trial, you've seen us do this, right? Little snippets, a second here, a second there, a screenshot here, a screenshot there. You need to review the entirety of the evidence in this case. It's exactly what you believed. It's exactly what you saw with your eyes. It's exactly what you knew. It's what you felt in your gut. It's what you now know in your heart.
After 3 weeks of hearing testimony, the jury began deliberation today and has not come to a decision. Local community leaders are calling for Chauvin to receive the most severe convictions.
You know, the world's seen that video, and the reality of it is that the world want to see a conviction. They want to see the most serious charges. And I think that if they find them guilty of anything less than the most serious charge, we have potential for a lot of unrest. Well, my hope is that, you know, what occurred last year don't occur again. You know, the people, the peaceful protesters, the ones that didn't have anything to do with any of the destruction, that impacted them a great deal, because those are the individuals that actually live directly in these communities, right? And so they had to wake up every day for the last year, and they still wake up on a day-to-day basis, and they still see that destruction.
Chauvin is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 of manslaughter. If convicted, he faces at least 10 years and as many as 40 years in prison.
Mayor Eric Garcetti is proposing to spend nearly $1 billion to address homelessness in Los Angeles over the next year. The proposal is part of the mayor's annual State of the City address. The Los Angeles Homeless Plan has a planned budget of $791 million and is expected to begin homelessness initiatives, increase shelter cleanups, and expand previously existing programs. There's an expected $160 million rollover from the previous year, according to the LA Mayor's office. An activist with Street Watch LA weighed in on the proposal.
So I don't agree with spending that much money on temporary shelters that people don't use for a variety of very reasons. The tiny shed solutions, they're not homes. I don't understand why we just don't give people housing that is going to work. I'm going to just urge the city to focus on permanent housing solutions.
In the coming months, aides to the mayor say that state and federal aid may help deal with the issues of homelessness.
Results from a 2021 Los Angeles Quality of Life survey show some major shifts among specific demographics. More than 1,400 people were polled by the UCLA Lewis Center over a 20-day period starting March 3rd. The survey studied the impact of COVID-19 on finances, health, and education, among other topics. The initiative director explains the impact of LA County's socioeconomic divide on the survey results.
The overall rating given to quality of life in LA is 58 on a scale of 10 to 100, which is three points above the midpoint, right? In reality, the people who were hit hardest by the pandemic, those 22%, they rated their quality of life at 49, almost 10 points lower than the countywide average. There are 10 million people in the county. If 25% of them are on the margins, that's 2.5 million people. And that is a major social problem that we face.
The results of the survey and data from past years are available to the public at www.lewis.ucla.edu/quality of life.
The city of LA has a court order that stops a California vaping company from marketing its products to kids on social media. Online promotions like this from the vaping company Candy Pens appears on YouTube and other platforms for kids. The company must now pay $1.2 million for past violations and must stop marketing to kids on social media. The latest data shows a quarter of high school kids are vaping.
This vaping phenomena is still really problematic. And if we want to start curbing the behavior, we really want to address the brands and the companies that inherently are targeting young people. We started to document what videos these were in, how many views they were seeing, and what concentration period of time, and then started to describe the associations between young people's exposure to this and their vaping behaviors, showing very clearly that among minors, these associations were pronounced.
In their response, Candy Pens did not deny marketing to kids. But a spokesperson said, quote, "The city of LA did not secure a court ruling against candy pens. This is a tentative ruling, not a final ruling. The city is announcing a victory prematurely and should retract their statement and press immediately."
Today, Doheny Library reopened its doors to students for the first time since March 2020. The Dean of USC Library says both students and faculty are celebrating.
The students have been so excited, I think almost as excited as my faculty and staff, to welcome people back into the libraries. We started reopening on the 15th of March in a really sort of gradual way, just to kind of see what the demand was. The libraries aren't just a place for information, they're a place for, intellectual gathering, social gathering, community gathering. And I think, what I've heard from students is they've just really missed their libraries. So when it seemed like the LA County Public Health was willing to approve the university's request that the libraries start to reopen, we just jumped on it.
Many students have already taken advantage of the reopenings. Some enjoy the peace and quiet the spaces offer, while others, like freshman Aiden Sanchez, simply enjoy the chance to be back on campus.
And I'm always trying to find somewhere that I can just study that's new because, again, I'm new to the campus. I'm a freshman this year, and we really didn't get that full experience. So I really think that going to the libraries where it's like a quiet, kind of like studio space, something like that, was just really helpful because it really just gets you in the mood to do work, which is what we've been doing this entire semester.
Doheny reservations are open between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. in 7-hour time slots. To make a reservation, visit libcal.usc.edu. Other libraries now open are Levy, the Science and Engineering Library, and Norris Medical Library on the Health Science campus.
I'm Jennifer Kim, reporting from San Francisco with tonight's Trojans Around the Globe. Emma Fiedler is a junior at USC studying health and human sciences. She landed a full-time internship at a custom skincare company in Germany. She took the position while still being a student. These are pictures she took of her time in Berlin. Emma loves the city, but her workload makes it hard for her to do anything except work and school. Still, she loves learning the business side of a skincare company.
I came into it knowing that it probably wasn't going to be a 40-hour-a-week job. I literally work probably closer to 60 hours a week. And then on top of that, even doing part-time school is just insane. And it is so time consuming. It's definitely a struggle doing school at the same time. Just because I, again, come home from work and I'm just so drained. And then I literally have to stay up for hours doing school. And the thing is that my classes are on a 9-hour time difference, obviously. Normally, of course, I would end work at 6:30 or 7 and have the rest of the night and the whole weekend to do things for myself or do whatever, hang out with friends. But the thing is that whole life part of the work life is taken up by school.
If working in a foreign country and taking classes weren't enough for Emma, she attends those classes synchronously at odd hours.
Welcome to sports. I'm Rachel Grode reporting from Los Angeles. USC football will need to work on their offensive line after an inconsistent showing this past weekend at the team's spring game. The offensive front struggled throughout the scrimmage, leading to turnovers and stagnant play in both the pass and run games. The split team dynamic eliminated any pre-existing comfort the players had with their teammates, and this shift ultimately hit the offensive line the hardest, limiting the explosive plays on both sides.
Over entire camp, I have been pleased with the offensive line. Obviously, today we'll see from the tape. You get in some live game experience, and you probably have some mistakes and some things you're going to correct. But there also was some positive aspects.
Will the Trojans be able to turn their O-line around? Guess we'll have to wait to find out until the Trojans' season opener on September 4th versus San Jose State. Now, for more sports updates, let's head over to Bianca.
Sad news for the Trojan family. Former USC football offensive lineman Chris Brown passed away this weekend at only age 24. The cause of death is unavailable at this time.
Brown was with the Trojans from 2015 to 2018. He started all 14 games on the Pac-12 championship squad in 2017 and won USC's Offensive Lineman of the Year award that season.
Brown signed with the Chargers in 2019 after leaving SC undrafted. Some exciting news for SC fans. The Trojans are locked in for the NCAA Division I Women's Soccer Championship. The team is seeded 8th overall with the first round bye. They will face the winner of Ole Miss versus Bowling Green in the second round.
To be an 8th seed is great going into this tournament, so I think our momentum from this last month is going to keep us going.
We have to continue to do what we've been doing, being solid defensively and really being dangerous on the attack and in transition. So those are going to be our keys. We've got to defend well. All of the teams there are winners and champions.
And that's the Sports Scoop. Now let's go to news.
Welcome to Gone Viral, our new segment where we highlight USC students making it big on social media.
This week, we're joined by Mia Lind, a senior communication major. Let's check out one of her TikToks.
If you want to know how I went from this and this to this, and also this, listen up, this is for you. It's actually really easy, and there's really only one step. And it is what I call the hot girl walk. Now, obviously, there are a lot of health benefits when you go on these walks for a long time and walk kind of quickly, but it's what you do on the hot girl walk that matters. You're only allowed to think about 3 things on the hot girl walk. 1, things you're grateful for. 2, your goals and how you're going to achieve them. And 3, how hot you. You may not think about any boys or any boy drama. I have a playlist that you can use. And if you ever start to think about any boogery drama or anything, you just turn that hot girl playlist up. The most important part of the hot girl walk is that it doesn't end at the end of your run. You take that energy and you carry it with you throughout the whole day. If you try this, tag me.
I'm curious, was the hot girl walk video your claim to fame, or did you have a strong presence on TikTok kind of before you created that video and that was just the icing which really made you take off?
Yeah, well, I actually had a video in, I think, last March or April that did really well about me appealing to USC and that process and what that looked like for me. And then a few TikToks here and there just about me and my relationship with my younger sister.
You know, I'm wondering, your vulnerability has inspired so many of your fans and viewers to improve their health and increase their motivation. How does it feel to know you've made that impact on over 3 million people with your video?
What really makes it so powerful for me is the individual direct messages that I receive of people saying that this is the reason that I got out of bed for the first time in weeks.
Obviously, your videos gained so much traction on TikTok, but also on major media outlets like Yahoo News and E! Even suggested as a celebrity-approved workout. So how does that recognition feel after your hard work and your dedication?
It honestly feels really great because I feel like there's a huge, a very extreme culture when it comes to exercising. To have that validation from really large news networks, and I know E! News titled it Kylie Jenner approved. So to have that, just a walk validated by somebody who people admire so much, whether it be their body or Kylie Jenner, she's achieved so much, and have that validated by that, I'm sure makes people feel more willing to go out on a walk, and seeing that as a valid form of exercise and acknowledging the really mental health aspect of exercising rather than using exercise to burn as many calories as possible.
That is so exciting. Hopefully you get to that 100K mark soon. We're excited to celebrate with you. But that's it for this week's Gone Viral. Mia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you back here next week with more USC content creators. The School of Dramatic Arts will put a musical twist in its weekend performance of the Shakespearean play, A Midsummer Night's Dream.
As a collective, students and administrators, we decided that we were going to do Midsummer Night's Dream because it's a comedy, because it's lighthearted, because it's fun. It's an interesting listening exercise. I've learned a lot because of this platform that I probably wouldn't have learned if it were in person. So my personal feeling is that although, yes, Zoom, don't really want to do Zoom, we're kind of excited for this performance because we have something to show.
The virtual show is this weekend with a Friday night performance and a Saturday matinee. Audiences can register online at eventbrite.com to RSVP for the show. Wow, Caroline, the performing arts have really been impacted by the pandemic. I couldn't imagine having to go through the entire rehearsal process online, but I can't wait to see it all come together when they perform.
Yeah, Lauren, it really is tough. I'm actually a dance minor here at USC Kaufman, and it definitely took a bit of adjustment getting used to taking those technique classes from my bedroom, especially because there's limited space. But I'm sure those SCA students are going to kill it this weekend and are total pros at performing on Zoom by now. Well, folks, that's all for Annenberg TV News. Thanks so much for watching.
From everyone at Annenberg Media, have a great night.